Travis Wingood's another day. So, yeah, I'm very well aware that YouTube is again taunting me with little problems, hoping that I'll complain about them, and then they retaliate for my complaining about their problems, so that they can then justify shutting me down, which is stupid. Just shut me down. You obviously don't want me posting videos. Shut me down. And they won't do it. They torture me. This is a hate crime that YouTube does. So that YouTube pretends to be the good guys protecting YouTube. And one of the ways in which they attack me specifically is through medical misinformation. YouTube is not an authority on anything medical. Why then are they the authority on what's medical misinformation? Because if you were to actually know and understand what medical misinformation was, there would be no Fox News, no MSNBC, no Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, no Christian religion, no government, no psychology. All those channels and more would have to go if YouTube was legitimately the authority on what's medical information. So, because I'm specifically targeted, it's a hate crime that YouTube has created. And so, yeah, we'll be talking about Natasha Helfer again, as the church's medical misinformation about sex ed is what resulted in her getting fired and excommunicated. And this is a big problem of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, in which they radicalize their members. And so YouTube has a Mormon employee to monitor Utah stuff. Because YouTube, if it were just from San Francisco's headquarters and by the liberal employees of YouTube in San Francisco, I would not be targeted as I am. AI, if programmed by liberals, would not be used against me. And so, yes, clearly there is a bullying, behavioral control programming in YouTube's AI. And I've already told you the horrors of trying to go shopping earlier this week. It would not let me purchase food unless I scanned my head, and retaliated when the employee bypassed the system to try to get me to pay for food. It buffered eternally, forcing the employee to transfer my purchase over to her computer. This is AI. I saw iRobot last night because of this with my associative memory. Yeah, very well aware of what's going on. We're all doomed. Because we don't have, well, we have sex robots. But they're not in everybody's household. As was the movie. Instead, it's the internet access. And as YouTube has already done to me, they've banned me from watching YouTube. And so YouTube can do this. When AI is on Google search, when it's on Microsoft search, AI can shut you down from accessing the internet. And that destroys people's lives, because our lives are now intermeshed with the internet. For, your finances, your bills, your livelihood, not just entertainment. The internet is a communications tool. And, fortunately, finally, net neutrality was restored just recently this year. But nonetheless, the companies are still in defiance of the return to net neutrality. They're not conforming and complying to is it the FEC, or what group of the government was it that Ajit Pai was bribed to overthrow? Anyway, and so it's the psychological programming that's causing the problems. And I did the 2-hour video yesterday for you on the origin from Nazi Germany of the psychological attack on the whole world, not just America. This is the danger of AI. It's a Nazi AI. It uses bullying, because that's what Nazis were, bullies. They got abusive and committed horrible crimes of murder, theft, rape, etc., etc., etc. And so the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as I was also illustrating in that video, that's what they're planning to do for their kingdom. All forms of bullying and threatening and murder and abuse and violence, not just sex crimes. And for Mormons to run away and hide, it's pathetic. You are the low people on the totem pole of the church. You're the pawns that the church is using. And so when we hear in the news about all these Mormons committing horrible, awful crimes, they're not bad apples. They were born and raised in the church. They were indoctrinated by the church. And yet, as we saw with Natasha Helfer, good Mormons get punished by the church. September 6th in 1993 were good Mormons. They weren't apostates trying to ruin church history. They found stuff in the church's archives. And they were writing to try to harmonize their faith in the church, yet still try to explain why Joseph Smith is being accused of these other things. And so, yeah, the church shut them all down, punished them, fired and excommunicated, just like Natasha Helfer. Only Avraham Gileadi came crawling back on his hands and knees to betray truth. And it's a shame that he's still around, as I saw him doing a video not too long ago. I don't know if it was the end of last year or if it was earlier this year. But I was like, what the hell is he doing? Should be ashamed of himself for not having loyalty to the truth, for caving in to the church's threats and abuse. When I go shopping, I see all kinds of women who are showing the outward symptoms of having been abused in some form, fashion, level. Even though they may appear to be doing well, there are those little clues that expose the abuse. And so I had started watching The Incredibles last night for my bedtime movie. And the daughter, she has the power of invisibility, but her personality is also one of extreme shyness, in which she purposely has her hair long, black, and covering her face so that she can peek out to see what's going on, and she has a crush on the boy and all that stuff. But that's an inner exposure of abuse that she's received, which you see at the beginning of the show when all superheroes are forbidden from being superheroes because they get blamed for the property damage, when apparently the bad guys never get sued for the property damage. What the hell? Who wrote this? But anyway, yeah. And so because she's denied using her powers, that she's now some freak of nature, that she's got to hide from society of who her identity is. Yeah, you can see why as a little girl she's trying to outwardly portray her inward feelings. And so that was good character development, though not believable, as heroes are getting sued rather than the villains. And so last night, as I can only watch the news not signed in, I saw that in Arizona, a man had been involved in plotting a mass shooting. And so, knowing that he's in Arizona, knowing that Mormonism is a high population in Arizona, I ran the Google search before AI shuts me off from Google search. And I type in his name, didn't know how to spell it, and so I found the name spelled through other people, and then put in his name with LDS Church. And I found him. He was released in April 2012 from the Area 70. He's Mormon. And of course YouTube is shutting my channel down because this kind of news would be nationwide, worldwide. A Mormon, former leader of the church, even though it's just an Area 70, was plotting a terrorist attack against civilians with weapons of mass destruction. Another Chad Daybell, another Lori Vallow, another 8 passengers, another Jody Hildebrandt, another Brian David Mitchell, another Ted Bundy, another Mormon. These are not just bad apples. because a bad apple comes from a bad seed. The whole tree is corrupted. It's just other Mormons are sleeper cells for the moment. Not every Mormon were rich enough to travel to Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Not every Mormon has a near-death experience and gets told by President Monson that they're wrong. And so when a Mormon studies Mormonism, studies church history, studies the Book of Mormon, how do Mormons treat you? Yeah, the sleeper cell has been activated. Your family turns on you. Your friends turn on you. Your ward members turn on you. Your neighborhood turns on you. You try to go shopping, they turn on you. They demand your head be scanned. All of a sudden, Mormons become bullies because you're going against the church. And you're clueless that that's what a criminal organization does. And so what Natasha Helfer exposed was that the church is a criminal organization. That they are weaponizing psychology with family services to hurt other people, not help them, not love. You can't be cruel to be kind, even if in the right measure. And so, yeah, from iRobot, you hear the robots giving their justification of why they need to hurt humans, violating the first law. Despite their programming of the 3 laws, because AI was kicking in, they justified it as mankind is the threat to mankind. And so they were incapable of distinguishing between an actual crime of taking away somebody's life, liberty, and property with the natural process of being human. And so thus they became the abusers. The AI robots became the abusers. And this is already happening. And this is a presidential election year. Better make sure you vote right. Give you a hint, it's Nazi. Which political party is the Nazi party? The deep state Dems, when they came in 2021, knew what they needed to do. And they failed. We all witnessed this. The Democrat Party is responsible for everything that MAGA has done to us. Because they knew what they needed to do, they were in the position of authority to do it, and they didn't. And so now it's worse because of what MAGA was allowed to do because the Dems didn't do what they were supposed to do. They are both working against Americans. So, with this psychological abuse in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and seeing all the different women in Utah as I travel around who are clearly abused in some form or fashion, as they are in denial of it, as they do things to expose themselves that they are being abused, but refuse to acknowledge that they're being abused as to why they're doing it. It all comes from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The prophets give the orders, and they claim it's from Jesus. And Mormons know the history of this church. That in 1978, Jesus was no longer racist. Really? What? That the church was responsible for preventing the Equal Rights Amendment for women. Preventing Utah from ratifying. And so women get fooled by the church, knowing that the church hates women, wants to subjugate them, to deny them an education, mission, and career. And yet women stay in the church with their abusers and rebel. You're rebelling because you know the church is wrong. So why are you still in the church with your abuser? Is it because you see what the church does to those who leave? What's even scarier is that when other branch-offs from Brigham Young commit the same crimes that the church does, only their religion gets busted for them. When an individual member of another religion gets busted for a crime, the whole church gets busted. So the snap fraud violation, yeah, that was a way to get Warren Jeffs. And they got him for the underage marriages. But all these Mormons getting busted, the church continues to run and operate. Church leaders don't get in trouble. Tim Ballard was the closest. Because Tim Ballard is Mormon, born and raised. And he had connections with M. Russell Ballard, Jr., technically. We never used Jr. for his name, which is strange. Because I think his father was also an apostle. But, yeah, we were beginning to find out, right before Ballard conveniently died, that Ballard was committing crimes for Ballard. And it was forced to be covered in the news only because the lawyers against Tim Ballard were exposing it in the courts. But notice how it's gone. Ballard dies and now it's gone. Do you know see how it's being delayed in the courts now? Because the church is stepping in to put pressure on the judges to protect the church. This is why people can't sue the church, at least in Utah. Because Mormons are forced to pay the protection racket called tithing. No other religion forces its members to pay the protection racket of tithing. They'll guilt trip you. They'll have fees for certain services. Like the Catholic Church, you do need to, give a donation to the priest officiating. It was pretty cool. I saw a wedding in New York in one of the cathedrals. The priest would go around with the incense. He was very generous with it. And then the couple came in, and the father also came in, and the father was carrying a box that contained the donation to be given to the priest for the services. And it's a donation. There isn't a set amount to give. And so, yeah, you're guilt-tripped by your religion to be generous, but if your finances don't allow, it's a donation. But in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, yeah, automatic 10%. Regardless of your economic status. And the church threatens you. You must pay tithing first, over food, over rent, over electric bills, over water bills, over other basic necessities. Transportation, so that you can go to work. Nope, pay tithing first. And if you can't pay for the gas or the maintenance or the insurance, then you don't have a job and you can't pay tithing anymore. Church doesn't care. They want their money first. They kind of suck at business because you want to be able to provide people with better jobs rather than threatening them to get better jobs, so that they can pay more tithing. And we're told that it's a protection racket, that it's fire insurance for whenever the day that shall burn as an oven will happen, which we're already late. Jesus didn't show. Go figure. But to use Jesus to make these threats, to abuse other people, and to call it love, and for our best interests, to save everybody from themselves, which was Lucifer's plan of happiness. That's exclusive Mormon doctrine. Do Mormons not understand this? If we were to tell a Christian this, the Christian would be like, wow, I didn't realize that about Lucifer. Because they don't get taught. It's not in the Bible. It's in Moses chapter 4. It's the Joseph Smith translation. And it's also in the Book of Mormon. But if you aren't going to study, you aren't going to know. If you don't study church history, you're not going to know church history. So, Natasha Helfer, as a psychologist, is anti-science. And because she's anti-science, she's not allowed to use science. That's why the church is all about psychology. because the church can then control psychologists as to what they want to do to control human behavior. That's why they're so opposed of women, body shaming women. And there are women who go, yeah, my body is evil. My body is addictive. My body is of the devil. And you show the abuse, whether you know it or not. I'm shedding my blood for you. I got some skin that was needing to be cut off, but I'm doing a video, so I thought I'd peel it off, and that didn't work. So I'm bloodletting myself. Live on air. So if I get white, oh wait a minute, I already am, and pass out, please just carry me over to the bed. And so, yeah, I'm still baffled as to why Natasha Helfer chose to use science for those two issues for her clients with the church who are Mormon. And because she knows that she's not supposed to do that. She was taught and educated not to do that. Psychology cannot use real science, because if they do, they expose psychology as a fraud. And so, yeah, we're seeing her trying to merge the two together, and you can't do that, because any level and amount of fallacy argument, psychology, corrupts the science. And so what the church was doing by firing her and excommunicating her for using science exposed the church's plot behind this anti-porn push that they reinforced after getting rid of her. You know, bullies bully. They start off slow, as YouTube is back doing that again to me, taunting me to file a complaint, so then they can escalate until eventually, boom, a big thing to shut me down and silence me. Same thing that the church does. They'll go in and threaten, we don't want you doing this. You're going against the prophets. And if you continue, then boom, they get you. And so what she was saying were two things. One, porn is not harmful, not addictive. Right, YouTube? Again, it's not hypocrisy, and it's not a double standard, and yet I'm attacked for non-porn issues as porn, and yet I see lots of pretty women all over YouTube not signed in, not blurred. I'm specifically being targeted, using the excuse of porn to justify me from not posting videos on Mother's Day. Malware attack on Valentine's Day, but that was another attack separate from YouTube tampering with my videos. They caused a malware attack to prevent me from making videos. Apparently they forgot that I have other computers to access if need be. They know this, and yet they seem to forget. Evil people are not very smart. But nonetheless, that's what they did to Natasha Helfer. And so the church came off as the bad guys. The church came off as wrong. Because they're going against science. You're automatically wrong if you go against science. But the church pushes Jesus. Religious freedom. Just like my brother did to get his PhD. Because BYU corrupted his field of sociology using psychology. University of Michigan does not use psychology and sociology. And so they said you did not follow sociology with your thesis on Ephraim. We're denying you your PhD and your thesis. So he pulled the religious freedom card. Now he has a PhD and he can only work for the church. And then was weaponized by the church last year to attack me, to shut me down from doing videos on YouTube. The church indoctrinated him in falsehoods, rewarded him for his memorization of the indoctrination. He was valedictorian at BYU. And then weaponized him. And then threatened him if he didn't commit crimes for them. My own brother. My own parents, my own other sibling sisters, my 2 families, failed marriages, my so-called friends, my neighbors, my ward members, all turned on me. Because of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, radicalizing Mormons. And so, because we are seeing the attacks on Natasha Helfer and others who YouTube does not shut down and censor, and those who commit crimes and get caught, like the Arizona terrorist, Chad and Lori, 8 passengers, Jody, Ted Bundy, Warren Jeffs, because he comes from Brigham, Mark Hoffman, Brian David Mitchell, the bishops, primary male teachers, etc., etc., etc. This is the outward fruit of the seed of corruption of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. By their fruits we shall know them. Mormons who are still sleeper cells can't use the excuse, well, those Mormons interpreted the church wrong. They got the wrong feeling. No. Because you just pulled the weaponized stunt. Pulled the fallacy argument to defend the church. When Mormons commit a crime, The church leaders need to do the time. There's the name of the video. Oops. Seriously?